What's going on, y'all? Another Pondering report series. Hey, continue on with the six taboo topics. So, I've already gone over religion, I've already gone over race, and now I want to use this episode to talk about politics. So, with anything that we talk about in reference to any of these six topics, uh, inevitably I'm gonna end up saying throughout the particular episode, being more objective than being subjective, being more objective than being subjective. Um, that is the primary foundation of what our biggest downfall is when it comes down to talking about any of these. But nevertheless, politics. Politics is a very touchy subject when it comes down to most people, um, especially when you're in a country where you have different political groups. Then I would like to say you also have different splinter groups that tie back to a political ideology. Um, where, I mean, we can go through, more specifically in the United States when it comes down to the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, um, and then, most recent events when it came down to the presidency. But I don't really want to talk about those in detail. What I do want to talk about is the understanding of, you know, political ideologies, where you have people thinking that, okay, for you to be a Democrat, you must definitely be liberal. And then for you to be a Republican, you must definitely be a conservative. Where um, being a conservative or being a liberal are different ways of thinking. But then you have the political parties, those parties are labeled or titled a certain way. Um, you can be a Democrat, but then have conservative views and you have liberal views. You have ones who may be a Democrat, but have conservative views, or they may have liberal views, or they may have a combination of the two. But then you also have, Republicans that have liberal views, and you have ones that have conservative views. Most cases, when it comes down to the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, in the Democratic Party, you have more people that are liberal, on the liberal side, and then in the Republican Party, you have more people that are on the conservative side. Um, I know for me, I'm able to talk to anyone, to be able to get their understanding of how they, see their political party, what interests they have, so on and so forth. But for either one of them, I don't prescribe to either one. I don't specifically prescribe to either one. I don't consider myself a Democrat, nor do I consider myself a Republican. I'm more so when it comes down to the aspect of being independent, or even more so, within the ideology of libertarianism. Um, Nevertheless, it's always good to be able to have a conversation, with someone on different views that are different than mine. But being able to have an objective conversation, where, of course, with any of these topics, you have most people that, will have a mindset of, well, uh, if they are confronted with something that may be something that is different from what they believe, or confronted with some information that may contradict certain things that they believe in, immediately that will turn on their anger switch, or, that will be a trigger for them to feel like they have to be on the defense. Um, it's a whack way of thinking. Um, Even though for me, I'm more so on the side of, a person being able to exude their own liberty, when it comes down to doing good things for the community, doing good things for themselves, doing good things for their family, being able to build themselves up, when it comes down to, doing all the necessities in reference to living the best life they can, without having to, put themselves in the disposition of, pressing someone else down, in a certain way. But then also in turn, the idea for me, the idea of government, I'm in conflict with, because we don't always need, and let me go in specific detail, we don't always need the government to intervene in letting us know how we need to live our lives. We should be able to do that from a basis of good nature. Um, Nevertheless, people can go into various details about what good nature is, what may have you. People can, even, completely disagree with, the particular things that I'm saying. And that's fine, you know. But as long as your thoughts, your beliefs, in no way, shape, or form is, degrading, decimating, or putting, anyone in this position of being harmed, you know, you should be able to live your life. You should be able to do what you need to do. You know, I always say the pursuit of happiness. Having the pursuit of happiness is always one of the best things to have in mind. Um, as long as your pursuit of happiness is not impeding someone else's life in various ways, you know. Nevertheless, politics, to me, at times, especially when I view politics, or I view it on, I guess, a grand scale as far as looking at the media. Um, to me, it just seems like a lot of people just delve into things to more so be on the side of what is considered either the winner or the underdog. You know, the side of the winner or the underdog, where when you have, an election essentially every 4 years, people just get in that bag or tap into that level of compartmentalization of the lack of practice in being able to understand their own political ideology. Um, I just believe oftentimes, when we do get to that year or that time frame of, election year, you see a lot of people more so will be swayed in a certain way of thinking, will, put themselves out there as being so strong, you know, when it comes down to a specific candidate. Um, but one of the things that I definitely understand when it comes down to politics, these politicians will tell you what they need to tell you for them to be able to get your vote. That is a fact. Um, you have certain politicians that may be in office or may get in office, no matter what the office is. It could be, from the president on down to, an alderman, what may have you. Prior to them getting in office, they've made all these specific promises, and some of them they weren't able to keep, or a good amount of them they just did not do during their tenure in office, however long that time was. It's not good, and this is one of the things that I always keep in mind when it comes down to voting for certain politicians. Um, it's not a good thing when you make a promise that you cannot keep, or you make a promise that you make and you don't realize you will not be able to keep the promise. You know, I think the latter is even worse. You will not be able to keep the promise, and then you have this, facade going on as far as you being one of the ones to help out, certain issues, and you end up becoming the exact opposite of what you have put out there as far as you being one of those one of the ones that people are looking to be a savior or some type of messiah, you know. That way of thinking, in my personal opinion, is it just exudes a lot of stupidity. We may believe in certain things that these candidates may say, but they will say one thing and then they'll do something totally different, you know? And then it goes into also another thing that, you know, I've always thought about was how powerful really is a vote? How powerful is it? Especially in the United States, when it comes down to the system that we are under, how powerful is a vote? You know? Um, I believe the power of a vote is only as powerful as you make it individually. It is only as powerful as you make it, the one that is voting, you make it individually, which goes into the power of your belief in your particular political ideology. That level of power you have within your political ideology, as far as you being able to vote. Where's your vote going? You know, like a vote, honestly, when it comes down to, if I remember correctly, the etymology of the word vote, a vote, um, real talk, the etymology or part of the etymology of the word, you know, goes back to, you know, the word wish. You know, you wish for this particular candidate to do the things that they have said they are going to do. Or you wish they do the things that they've said they are going to do based on your understanding of the context of what they are saying. Because your understanding of what they are saying may not necessarily be what they are planning on doing. Or your understanding will paint one picture in your mind that is completely different from what they are going to do, but it will be within the same words of what they said, but totally different from what you have thought. Where a lot of these political candidates, politicians, need to give more context, but inevitably they're not. They're not going to give more context, and this is where I go back to in my mind. You know, not saying others have to do this, but I go back into my mind the understanding of personal liberty. You know, the understanding of personal liberty, being able to do what you need to do to make it in this world, doing the necessary work that you need to do to be able to flourish, and being able to work with society in the best way possible. Um, and that's good in itself. It's mind-boggling to me that there are too many of us, oftentimes, we end up delving into a political ideology based on one reason, based on what we have been taught when it comes down to the pass down. And what I mean by the pass down is from generation to generation to generation, family members, well, we did it, so y'all might as well do the same thing. Well, my family members did it, my ancestors did it, so we do the same thing, and, you know, pass down to the pass down to pass down, so on and so forth. You know, one of the things I, you know, talk about in reference to, you know, the pass down is the aspect of black people in the United States of America there is this mindset that, black people must be Democrats, you know, um, which is funny. It makes me think about the time that Biden ended up saying, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. I'm more so paraphrasing. I don't know the exact quote, but if you black, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Pretty much talking to black people specifically. If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And that makes me think about um what what is it what makes someone in their mind believe that because someone is African American, is black, is of African ancestry, whatever you want to call it, why does a candidate believe that if you're black, you must vote Democrat? You must vote for the Democratic Party. It's mind boggling me. My whole thing is you could be registered as an independent. You don't have to be registered as a Democrat. You don't have to be registered as a Republican. You could be registered as, whatever political group party you want to be tied to, whatever you want to do. But to say that, say something like that, which pretty much insinuates, um, black people must vote for the Democratic Party to be able to get, necessary things done. It's crazy to me, you know? Like, I can be registered as an independent, but still I can vote for a Democratic candidate, a Republican candidate, you know? Oftentimes, when it comes down to the aspect of how traits of the ideology of a particular political party is exuded within said candidates, that will help me to determine which candidate I'm going to vote for. Just let you know, I will never say who I vote for. I'm not going to do it. I just won't. But one of the things that is mind-boggling to me is it's like there's this stake on, well, when it comes down to the Democratic Party, most, will be considered minorities, even though I don't consider myself minorities. Most minorities must vote Democrat, or maybe even I would go as far as saying this, and I don't like this term, based on the history of it. You have certain model minorities that end up voting Republican, you know, but you also have some model minorities that may end up voting Democrat or being a registered Democrat or being a registered Republican. It differs. Um, the biggest thing is what you believe in. Is there a sense of an objective way of thinking in it? Is there a sense of, okay, I understand what I know, I believe in when it comes down to certain traits of a political ideology? Are these traits helping me to let others flourish, to let others do what they need to do to be their best selves? Does it really help? One of the things I've realized for myself specifically, uh, I do believe that the reason why I kind of got away from the Republican Party and Democratic Party is because we've been harping up on both of those political parties for so long. For so long. Is either blue or red or blue or red. Um, and when you look at the history of the parties, when you look at, in-depth history of it, I've gotten kind of turned away from those two, which is reason why I've kind of attached myself to a libertarian way of thinking, you know. Nevertheless, being as objective as possible, I'm willing to listen to a Democrat. I'm willing to listen to a Republican. I'm willing to listen to a liberal. I'm willing to listen to a conservative. You know, and I would hope they are willing to listen to me, and maybe with whatever situation that we are in, or if it just so happens to be a situation where we have to work together, we're able to do that from a objective standpoint. I don't necessarily believe, I don't have to believe everything that you believe. You don't have to believe everything that I believe. What we can do is come to an objective standpoint on accomplishing a mission or accomplishing a goal, whatever the goal is. How can we do that? How can we come together? Oftentimes in this modern era, modern society, most people, feel the need to always be around ones that essentially believe the same thing that they believe. You know, that's where you're most comfortable. Why not come together and be able to come to a compromise on particular things that are needed for growth and needed for some sense of a tangible progression? Why not have that mindset? Nevertheless, hey, I'm Frank. Another episode, Ponder Report series. Y'all take it easy.